Hey, welcome to another episode of Stoop Stories. Really excited, man. It's snowing outside today. In April, so that means something.
I'm not sure what that means. Maybe you should enlighten
Well,
that.
I have no idea either, but I know I've got a vest on, and Nathan's been roasting me about wearing a vest in April, but it's snowing outside. It means something, and, well, actually, I know what it means. Man, when it's snowing outside and it's freezing cold, that in itself will get you off the stoop and put you in the house. So we're definitely off the stoop today, and I'm excited about our episode today because it's about something that's really important. You know, I've learned in life that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and most often we're brought up scared to ask questions.
Okay.
Not asking the questions we need to get access to what we want out of life. So we're fortunate to be sitting here today with the CEO of Southwind, Mr. Herron, Josh Herron. And man, we've got a lot of questions to ask you.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So
Can't wait to hear them.
you got it, man. Nathan, I want to ask you to put something in the line here for people to shoot some questions over to us here at Southwind HQ, to myself, Josh, Tyler, whomever, so that we can answer those questions, because the only way you can win at life is by asking questions and getting some answers from someone who's a little bit further with a different perspective than you have. Okay? So are you
I'd
ready?
agree with that.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to hopefully helping everybody that's listening to the podcast right now. You never know, if I could say something that could maybe change the way someone perceives something. I think that would be great.
Yeah. You know, so before we start, I want to make sure that we're aligned. Everywhere that I go and everybody that I've come across in my experience in life, they say they want more if I ask the question to an audience. Mm-hmm. Whether it's more money, more revenue in their business, more freedom in their life, more balance, more access to resources, the answer is always yes, I want more.
Yep.
And here's what I know to be true. If your thought process doesn't align with people who have more, then you ain't going to get it.
Yep.
And I look at you as someone who has a lot of things that people say they want. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
You know, I think that's fair, you know, and
fair.
you're a very humble guy, so I appreciate you being vulnerable and
Sure.
open to answering questions
Sure.
and letting us know what's actually inside your mind. Because guess what? If you want more for your life than you have right now, man, if your thought process doesn't align with what Josh Herron here is saying, man, you might not be on track to getting it. And here's how I know. This is a yes or no question, the first one, Mr. Herron. At one point in your life, could you maybe have classified yourself as being poor from a resource standpoint?
Yes.
Okay. The answer is yes to that.
Yes.
All right. So would you say that you're poor right now?
No, I'm not. I would validate being poor as not having any money in your bank account.
Okay. So you didn't have any money in your bank account at one point in your life?
Yes.
Okay. About how old were you at that time?
I mean, several times but anywhere from 24 till 27, I would say that was a reality that I dealt with.
Yeah. So that wasn't that far away.
No.
How old are you today?
37.
So a decade ago,
Yep.
you were broke.
I was broke.
You were busted.
I was busting.
Disgusted.
Getting declined.
Getting declined.
Getting declined on the line.
Yeah, man. I remember that. That's humbling.
Yes.
To say the least.
100%.
And you're not poor anymore. So that means a lot has changed in your life.
That's right.
So we've got to find out, what changed and how you were able to make that happen. I will also ask you another question. At one point in your career as a businessman, did you have a little baby business?
I did.
Tell me about that little baby business.
2 trucks, $479,000 in revenue. I thought a good year was growing that thing 100,000 to getting 579. Was really excited about that.
Yeah. How many people on your team at that point in time?
Like 6.
Like 6. A little baby team.
Yeah, a little baby team. Sometimes there was 4.
Yeah, they might have called in on a specific day. There might have been 3.
Yeah, there may
for
have been
you,
3.
Tyler, somebody else.
Yeah,
So you and
that's
Tyler,
right.
you guys don't even count. So 1 employee sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. A little baby business.
That's right.
But is that the case anymore?
That's not right. No, it's not the case anymore.
Okay, so something has changed.
I think a lot has changed.
All right, well, we need to find out how. We're going to ask you some questions, and the only thing that we ask is that you're open, honest, transparent, candid with us. Can you do that for us?
I will do my best.
All right, my man. So I have some questions written here because here's what I know is true. People that are listening, they're in the seat that you used to sit in, or maybe they're in a seat that's pretty close to yours now in the business that they're running. But nonetheless, your thought process and your mindset that helped you see obstacles as the way can help the people listening get to the destination that they want to go to. And if you're listening, I want you to be honest with yourself and think about how you think. That's called metacognition. And if the way you think isn't aligned with someone who has access to some of the things you say you want, man, you've got some real soul searching to do. Right. You want to dig in there.
You said something right there I want to make sure that the listeners heard. So think about what you're thinking about. A lot of times we just react and we're impulsive. We just do what we feel instead of processing thought. And I think that that is an important step that we need to cross as we continue to walk down this journey. But, you know, all of the folks that are listening today, you know, thinking about what you're thinking about is the first step to making the right decision, because there's always a decision to be made, and there's usually only a couple different answers, the right one or the wrong one. Yeah. And if you can't think about what you're thinking about, or you're not processing the information appropriately, you're sure to make the wrong decision, which takes you further away from what you want to achieve.
That's good. That's a jewel right there. Thinking about thinking. So speaking of that, when you were poor about a decade ago, what did you desire?
Money. I wanted to relieve stress. You know, being poor is stressful.
Yeah.
You know, you have, you know, for me in my life, I had a wife and a child, right? And so, you know, trying to provide for your family when you don't have any money, or everything that you get from an income standpoint goes right out the door, so you can live, you know, for food and shelter and a vehicle, man, that's really, really stressful. So, you know, what did I desire? Better days. I wanted life to change for myself. I wanted to do something that allowed me to increase my income so I could remove the stress from our lives and provide my family with the life I felt that they deserved.
Yeah, that's really impactful. Okay, so let's say that maybe someone listening is in that lane right now. What should they do to get more money right now based off of what you know to be true? And then also, what should they do to get better days? Because I think everyone can relate to that.
Yeah, I think when it comes to getting more money, first and foremost, it's about where you're spending your money. And one thing that made me poor was a poor decision that I made, and I bought a condo downtown, which at the time I thought was the thing to do. And I really liked my condo downtown. It was really nice. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. I was only one dude.
Yeah.
You know, like, I didn't need all of that. I probably could have bought, I shouldn't have bought anything at all. Buying something was the first mistake, and it put me into a poor position where, you know, I was making, I think, about $43,000 a year, which is enough to live on.
Absolutely.
But that condo was costing me about $1,600 a month, which is a large chunk of that amount of money.
What would Tyler call that?
Living high on the hog.
High on the hog.
That, right?
Yes, he would.
And, you know, at that point, it was 2007, and you know, buying houses was easy to do, and everybody could get one.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you wanted it, you could get it for the most part, and your realtor and mortgage broker was going to make it happen for you. And at this point, it put me in a poor position, which, you know, took me through a string of challenges that I probably didn't have to go through. So first things first is learn how to process the information and don't get too high on the hog, or, you know, my desires at that point were bigger than what my pocketbook could handle. And I really wanted to live downtown. I really had this vision that it was where I wanted to be, what I needed to be doing. But I didn't prepare me. I wasn't prepared for any kind of financial stress that could have come. And during that same period of time, we had a recession, right? So,
yeah, 2008.
So money wasn't easy to come by. So I would say, if you want more money, first things first, make sure you're taking care of your current finances and don't put yourself in a position where the money you do have is not enough.
Okay, so when did that change? So at one point you were high on the hog, and then you recognized this is not where I want to.
You leave school, man, and you feel like, well, here it is. I've done what I'm supposed to do, and now I'm ready for the next step.
I deserve this. Huh?
I deserve it, and I'm gonna buy something.
Yeah,
I'm gonna buy a house. How many people have you heard say that are young?
Everybody.
I'm young. I want to buy a house. Let me first example that I can give you is rent your house. first. You don't even know where you want to live yet. Don't buy a damn house when you first get started. Rent and find and try some different areas of the city so you can understand where you want to be. And that was my mistake. And then I would tell you that, like, you know, sometimes the effort you put forth doesn't pay off immediately. I was fortunate to understand that. And I think it was all the years of playing sports that helped me recognize that, hey, sometimes you work really hard, but the payoff comes later. And I think we have a lot of people in society today that expect instant gratification. I worked hard today, so I expect to get paid today.
That microwave mentality.
I worked hard today. I want to get paid today, and I get that. But the reality is, you know, if you're building something, the building's not built in the first day. It's several weeks, months of years of stacking bricks until you finally built something that resembles a building. And I think a lot of times we want to stack a couple bricks and say, hey, look at my building, and reap the benefits of the shelter that it provides, but it's not able to provide shelter. It hasn't been built yet. So you can't reap what you haven't sowed.
I like that. That's good. And you may have answered the next question. So at one point when you were quote unquote poor, you thought that buying the condo downtown was a good idea.
Yes.
So you began at some point in time to think and believe and desire things that were different than that led you on the path that has you here today. What was that belief that changed that helped you acquire more resources?
That's a tough question because, you know, I think the belief, I always had the same belief, you know.
Yeah.
And I had confidence in myself, and I believed that I was going to be able to do something that was going to help put my family in the best possible position that it could be. And so I don't believe that it was the beliefs that ever changed. It's the time that makes the difference. It's the willingness to invest over long periods of time. It's grit and endurance. I believe that is the secret to success. Obviously, you have to work hard, and everybody can do it for a day, but can you do it for 10 years? I think that really is if you were to like recycle everything back and say, hey, look, did you know that you were going to be successful? I knew I was willing to grind as long as it possibly took to become successful. And there was not going to be anything that was going to discourage me. And that's the trick, right? Because, like, you know, you're in a place right now where you're working to get something that you want.
Without a doubt.
And there's all kinds of stuff that's going to discourage you or try to guide you and lead you away from what you're trying to accomplish, what belief you have about yourself and about what you want to do. And I think what happens is most people, they feed into that and they quit and they try something else. And what they don't realize is when you try something else, guess what? You start all over again. So, like, I'd rather just keep putting bricks on the same building and shape it a different way that fits my needs instead of, like, start to build again from the ground up.
Without a doubt. You know, what I believe I hear you saying is at one point you had a mind shift and you went from wanting money to wanting to invest in your virtues like grit and determination, which is what actually helped you move out of that condo and to places that would eventually lead you to where you're at today.
Yeah, I would say that I didn't invest in my virtues. My virtue was that I knew in order to get money, I had to do this for a long period of time. I'm not a quitter. Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, like, there's not a lot of stuff that you can do to me that's going to make me give up because I believe so strongly in my convictions. And I think that that's the difference. Most people give up when they face hard things. And we're talking about you and I were speaking about what we could talk about today, and you had the idea of asking questions. You know, my nature is to talk about the obstacles because that is what is the thing that deters human beings from accomplishing their dreams. It's the fact that life inserts obstacles in your way to see if you want it bad enough. And if you start to realize that, oh my gosh, these obstacles are in my path, and I'm not going to quit. I'm actually just going to run through them, or I'm going to try to move around them, or I'm going to get creative and find a strategy to help me, like, get in front of these obstacles. Then you start finding success right after the obstacle. It's like, but most people never experience that because they feel something hard, like a hard day's worth of work, and they're like, man, this isn't for me. Or they have a financial setback and they think, oh, I can't do this. I need to get a new job. Or they have a hard month and they say, damn, that was harder than I wanted to work, and I'm not willing to do that anymore. But like I feel like, and I don't know why this is what I feel. I think it's probably the experiences I've had in life, but I think that there's some kind of force that's testing us all the time, and it's trying to see how worthy we are of the success that's around the corner.
Yeah.
And it does that by putting obstacles in your face and saying, "Will you quit?" And most people quit, and that's why there's such a small group of successful people, because the average human being either lacks the confidence, the understanding, or the know-how to persevere when they hit adversity. Because like they say that death and taxes are the only sure things in life. Adversity is another thing I would add in there. Like you're going to face adversity from the time you take your first breath to the time you die. There's going to be things that are going to affect you negative. Like when you're a baby, adversity may come for like in the way of hunger, or not being able to, like, you crawling and not being able to walk. But like as life progresses, adversity gets harder, and the mountains you start climbing, like you start coming across. Like my challenges now are very different from my challenges when I was 25 years old. I would say they're much harder because the stakes get higher. That's just what I've found to be true in my personal life, is like the thing that's going to get you to the success that you want more than anything is going to be your ability to persevere over long periods of time. That takes care of getting the money that you want. It takes care of getting the success that you dream of. It puts you in the place that you want. Can't quit. Can't give up. If you do, you lose. That's the way you lose.
Wow, that's huge. And I hope that the listener caught that, because what you essentially did is you answered the question that everybody has on their mind. I mean, everybody on the planet. So Nathan, make sure they have this in China. They've got it in Russia, everywhere, man, because the whole world is looking for, man, what's true? And you just answered that. And you actually even used the word, man, this is what I believe to be true. So, listeners, please rewind the tape and listen to that again, because what he's saying is that everything is possible for absolutely everybody by way of adversity.
That's right.
And because of that adversity, you have the ability to apply perseverance to it and get through it. And on the other side is everything you could have ever dreamt of having, and even more, because you didn't know what was possible. So that's awesome. Josh, there are 3 types of people in the world. There are poor people, there are rich people, and there are wealthy people. Mm-hmm. Okay. So a lot of people will say, man, I want to be rich. Can you give us just a dollar number of, what would you say? All right, a rich person has this much money, so people can quantify what is rich.
Well, they say that the top 1% of, the top 1% in the world have about $450,000 annually that they earn from an income standpoint. And I think anything between that and, what you would consider wealth, which is about $20 million, I would say, is how you quantify being rich. 450 to 20 million, you're rich.
That's a big gap.
That's a big gap. There's a lot of, I think that's right though.
But it's fair. You can say I'm rich if you got 450 plus.
Yeah, I think that's based on what the top 1%.
Sure.
In the world.
I think that's fair. So if you're listening to this and you're wanting more and money is something that you're thinking about, put 450 on the list, because everyone says they want to be rich. Am I right, Nate? Okay, well, unless you have 450, you're not rich.
Nope.
So continue to level up, and you answered that question. Wealth is above 20 M's.
Yeah, which is a lot,
that's
right?
That's a lot.
But what the difference between rich and wealth is what your family keeps, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
$20 million, you can die, you can kind of live your life and everything, and then when you're off this world, your family continue to benefit from the work that you've done.
Yeah.
Because $5 million is a lot of money, but it's enough for maybe one generation. After that, they've moved through it. And
yeah.
That's, they call it generational wealth, because it has the ability to continue to move past the people that it's currently serving.
Sure. Okay, Mr. Herron, you ready for this next one? All right, now we're not going to get all the way inside your pockets.
Okay.
All right, but we're going to assume that you are, above 40.
Yeah.
Okay. So What is it? What do you have to sacrifice? Because you were at one point you had no money in the bank.
Yeah, no money.
Okay, so we're at least 450.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what did you have to sacrifice to get from no money in the bank to 450? What do you have to sacrifice?
Time. Lots of time.
Tell me more.
And I think that's you have to sacrifice going on vacation. You have to sacrifice time with your family. You have to sacrifice free time, video games,
TV.
You have to sacrifice things that your friends are doing. I think it's really about the amount of time that you have available. I think that a lot of people want to be rich, but what it takes to be rich, not a lot of people want to do.
Yeah.
Because it's not fun.
You know what else a lot of people want?
What's that?
A big ass business like Southwind.
Yeah.
And at one point, it was Josh, Tyler, and one other guy.
Yep.
I would consider that, the early days, the point when you had no money in the bank.
That was right.
Okay. Your business, indicated as such. Yeah. But now, you've leveled up. What do you have to sacrifice in business to go from 3 employees, including you and Tyler, to over 300, over 400?
Let me take a quick step back onto the personal sacrifice that it takes from a time standpoint. I think that what you have to go through to get to what you would consider rich, and maybe take that past 450. I'm not sure if that's an extreme. I think there's extreme sacrifice for sure for some people, depending on what their current state is. But I think what you have to go through is a tremendous amount of pain, and you have to sacrifice and suffer, and that doesn't seem glamorous. I think a lot of people expect to be rich overnight, and it doesn't take much. And the reality is, and for most of us, and maybe that's the case for some, but for most of us, it takes just an insane amount of just pure will to wake up and do it, no matter what day it is, no matter the fact that it's snowing outside today, no matter the fact that it's 115 degrees outside. Doesn't really matter. Environmental challenges can't affect your ability to persevere. And I think from a personal standpoint, I think that's very true. And I look at what does it take from a business to it's the same thing, but it takes leadership in addition to the sacrifice. Because at $450 or $600,000 in revenue, you can pretty much will it to happen with just, you can muscle it, if you will. Everybody lifts weights from time to time. You know how you just muscle that last rep up, and it's not pretty, but it gets the job done. And I believe that is the case to about $2 million in revenue, maybe 2.5 or 3 million. But once you hit that number, there becomes a point where it takes so much more than your sheer will to move the business forward, and it really takes planning, preparation, execution, and accountability. Planning, preparation, execution, and accountability. So your planning and your preparation is all well and good, but if you don't execute, it means nothing. All right? The accountability is the execution is great, but if you don't hold yourself accountable to doing it every day, then it means nothing. So you need all 4 of those, and you need them in spades, and you have to repeat them over and over and at different scales and in ways that people can align with the vision and with the expectations and start to be inspired to exceed the expectations. That's what it takes to build a big business. First, you have to have a vision. This is what I want to accomplish. Then you have to plan and strategize, prepare for it, and then you have to execute your plan. And sometimes you realize that wasn't a very good plan and you need to go back to the drawing board, which takes more planning, more strategy, and then more execution. And ultimately, it's the accountability or the discipline to make the right decision consistently. Because, again, like we talked about earlier, metacognition, the right or the wrong thing, having the ability to think about what you're thinking about, you have to make the right decision consistently over long periods of time. And the discipline to do that is not easy to come by. Most people lack it.
Man, this is good. I'm happy, Nate. I mean, this is everything. This is everything, man. This is great. So, man, got another question. I'll say frequently, one of the ways that I'll evaluate whether I'm off the rocker or not? I look around and say, who agrees with my thought process? So I'll ask you, who agrees with your thought process? Who do you look to kind of measure, am I on the right track? Am I not? Who agrees with Josh Herron these days?
It really just depends on my thoughts. And I'm looking at if it's a personal thing and I'm talking about parents, I use meritocracy. My wife's a more experienced, better parent than I am. So I'll ask her, Am I bugging right now that I think I should spank my daughter's ass right now because she disrespected us in that way? And she's like, yes, you are. Chill out. Like, damn. Because if this was a real life,
she's getting a whooping. She's getting a whooping.
Yeah. So like I certainly use meritocracy to my I use that to help me kind of validate my thought process when it comes to at home being a parent. Also, if I'm trying to be a better husband and I'm still at home trying to be a better husband to my wife, I'll ask somebody who I know is a great husband, who I validated. There's a guy comes to mind, Paul Kushner, is also a friend of mine, somebody I talked to business about, and he's a CEO here in the area. And man, that guy's a great husband. Like, he makes great decisions consistently. He's always thinking about his wife. So I would ask him or pose a question, and he does a great job of loving his wife, and I appreciate the way he does that. So he I think meritocracy kind of guides, good behavior in that area. And then from a business standpoint, a group of mentors and my business partner, Tyler, like him and I bounce ideas off each other every day from the time of 7 to 7:15 when we're getting coffee. Maybe it's 7:20, but the whole car ride there while we're at the Starbucks, on the way home, it's just, what's top of mind, and we're just bouncing ideas off each other. And so, I'll say something crazy, and normally, he's very like, we're both on each end of the spectrum. So like, I'm generally overly optimistic and have the ability to like try to find the brightest side of all things. And he is a very balanced person who's not overly optimistic and is always looking for the short side, like with the bottom falling out. What happened? Bottom's falling out. But the reality is, meeting him in the middle, we find great balance. And then there's a group of other entrepreneurs in the Kansas City area that I speak with on a monthly basis. And I download my shit to them, and I said, "This is what I'm dealing with. What's your opinion?" And true to form, there's some things that I have meritocracy on, and it doesn't really matter what they say. I kind of listen to their feedback, and I still make my own decisions. So there's other things that if it's dependent on something that I believe that they're an expert in, then I'll take their advice.
Wow, that's good. So idea meritocracy, which would indicate that you are radically open-minded and you're aware of the fact that you could be wrong at 100%.
All times. I am wrong at some of the time. And sometimes I'll talk to somebody and think I'll think that something is the problem that's not really the problem. And after having the conversation, I'm, set straight and like, well, I was wrong on that one. I apologize. And I think that is a really important characteristic for a leader to have. Nobody wants to follow a guy that knows everything all the time.
Without a doubt. Hey, Elijah of the future, call your mom and thank her for not letting your dad give you a spanking every day because he wouldn't ask her if he could.
Oh, man.
Elijah and Olivia. Yeah. Maybe Sloan.
No, Sloan.
She's always good.
Yeah, she's
like JR in my home. Wow, man, that's really good. I think we gave the listeners an awful lot to think about and process and digest. Lots of questions there, and if you have more questions that you would like to send up,
let me close off by just saying, like, life is challenging, and it's challenging for everybody. And even if it feels like it's easy for some people, understand that it's not. You can look at, either my life or Tyler's life, or people who have achieved success, and it may seem like it's easy. The reality is, the level of sacrifice that it takes to be successful makes most people quit. And if you quit, that's okay. It takes all different types of people to make up the world. But if you want to join the exclusive group of being successful, you have to prepare, plan for it, okay? You have to execute, and you have to hold yourself accountable and the people around you. And if you can do that over a long period of time, and I'm talking 10 years, all right, because it doesn't happen quick, and I don't care how good you are. Quick money gets reversed quickly. My brother Charlie used to say, easy come, easy go. So if it takes you a long period of time, understand that that's part of the process, and it's teaching you things along the way. Every bit of adversity, every challenge, every win, there's a lesson to learn. And if you're open-minded and you're listening and trying to find out what it's telling you, it'll be easier for you to achieve success in the future.
There you have it. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Hey, get off the stoop, people.